Chronicle. I'm Audrey Kane. Today we will get to talk with Cape Girardeau's new Fire Chief Travis Hollis, Cape County's Presiding Commissioner Clint Tracy, and Codify's Community Director Stacy Dohan Lane. That's all ahead on Cape Chronicle.
I'm Rudy Tempesta. I'm 92 years old. I fought in World War II. Then I came home, worked for the post office for 70 years. I've been getting Meals on Wheels, and I enjoy it. The most important thing about Meals on Wheels is you meet the people, which to me is fantastic. You need people to keep your brain moving. That's what life is about. It's love and having a conversation with people.
Welcome to Cape Chronicle. I'm Audrey Kane. Cape's new fire chief came from Rogers, Arkansas. He is working on a master's in public administration degree and his executive fire officer program at the prestigious National Fire Academy. You must be pretty busy, Chief Hollis.
Oh, very busy.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come and chat with us. So Rogers, Arkansas, how did you end up in Cape Girardeau?
So I ended up in Cape Girardeau. I was finishing my career in the state of Arkansas. I was nearing where I can get my pension, and a recruiter I'd worked with in the past had called me and said, "Hey, we know about Cape Girardeau." And I was like, I know a little bit about Cape, and did they find a fire chief? And he said, "No, matter of fact, that's why I'm calling you. They're recasting it, and they'd like for you to come up and apply."
So what was it about Cape that really caught your eye, that caught your attention, and you thought this would be a good fit for me?
Well, there was a previous fire chief that came from the Northwest Arkansas area, Dan White, back in the 90s. So that's how I first learned about Cape Girardeau, was through him and talking to him. And when it came up, it was just a natural attraction to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, first touring the city, and now, how long have you lived here?
I've lived here 7 weeks now.
7 weeks.
Right.
Okay. So, how do you like it? What do you like best about it?
Oh, I do love it. Matter of fact, when I came up to interview, I actually came up about 4 days early, did an Airbnb, and just took in the downtown area and started talking to local merchants, and just started getting a feel of the community and what the vibe is. Outside of the city's going to shuffle you around, and it's going to be highest pace getting you through. I really want to know what the community was like, and just fell in love with the river area, the trails, and just the best way to put it, just the genuineness of just people in the community.
That's a brilliant plan, to really look at the community before you even interview for the job. That's somebody's going to want to tick that away in their little memory block. Well, I'm curious about the master's degree program. What pushed you to decide you wanted to get your master's in public administration?
Just being a public administrator, as being a fire chief, I feel it's very important that move the fire service from a vocation to a profession. So, that was a natural next step for me, and, in the future, I don't know, maybe another 10 years or so, maybe look at being like assistant city manager or something somewhere, maybe here in Cape, who knows?
Maybe. Interesting. Yeah. Oh, that's very well thought out planning for your future. Now, you also are attending the National Fire Academy, and so what does that involve?
So the National Fire Academy has several different classes for all levels of firefighters through their career, but the Executive Fire Officer Program, it's also known as the West Point of the fire service, so that's where officers go in to be developed. They're transitioning from tactics and operations into being administrators, so they put them through a 4-year program where they have 6 months to do a applied research paper. So you have to write 3 of those, then on your 4th year, you got to defend one of those papers with PhDs across the table.
Really? Interesting. Well, and that's more intensive than most people go for in their firefighting career, yes?
That's correct.
And it doesn't intimidate you at all to sit down across the PhDs and answer those questions?
I'll tell you in another 2 years.
Okay. All right. So you have family back in Arkansas. Have they had an opportunity to visit Cape Girardeau?
Yeah, so I have a daughter, 22-year-old, and she's in nursing school right now. And then my oldest son's 17, he's a senior in high school. My youngest son's 15, and they're both involved in sports. So getting them away from Rogers to here is probably going to be Thanksgiving or Christmas before they visit.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be a great time because Cape Girardeau is beautiful during the holidays. The city decorates up and down Broadway, and the river is gorgeous. And so I think that you guys will have a really great visit. Well, since you've been here, or since you haven't been here very long, what would you say if someone asked you about yourself? Tell me about yourself. What would you say are your influences? Like, why did you become a firefighter? And how much do you enjoy it?
Firefighting is one of those things that's either going to be a part of your lifestyle or it's not going to be for you. My influences was my grandfather. He had some friends on the Tulsa Fire Department, and he would take me up to see them, and just kind of at a young age, that's what I wanted to do. Just going up through high school, that's kind of gravitated towards that, and by the age of 20, I was a career firefighter down in Bentonville, Arkansas. From there, just had a lot of great mentors that took me underneath their wing, and my previous boss was the president of the International Fire Chiefs Association. So through that, I met a lot of people nationwide that became really good confidants for me that, I can pick up the phone and call, the United States Fire Administrator, which I have a personal relationship with, to people on the West Coast. So even my best friend, he's in San Bernardino County, that actually came here for my swearing in. So,
well, could sit and talk with you. You obviously have a lot of connections. You obviously have a passion for what you do. If you were going to tell someone, because kids all the time say, I want to grow up to be a fireman, I want to grow up to be a policeman, or policewoman,
right,
or firewoman.
Right.
What would you say to them about, whether they should do it or not?
I'd say it's a great career, and no matter if you're a little girl or a little boy, that's an acceptable career for either one. And not only the women that I've worked with in the fire service, they're not just good women in the fire service, they're actually good firefighters. So, that's what we really need here in Cape, is some diversity throughout the whole ranks. So highly encouraged.
Is that one of your goals, is to diversify?
Absolutely.
Well, good. All right. Well, one of the reasons why we enjoy having people like you on here is so that the community can get to know you as a person. You're not just a badge. You're not just that person who runs up with, a truck and a hose. You are an actual person. Well, Travis, it's super nice to meet you. Thank you so much for coming by. We've been talking with Cape Fire Chief Travis Hollis. Thanks again. It's really nice to meet you. On the way next, get to know Presiding Commissioner Clint Tracy. That's coming up on Cape Chronicle.
Marie, you have prediabetes.
Prediabetes? I don't have time to eat right or exercise. I'm a busy mom.
Oh, you're a busy mom.
Yeah.
This is great news. Busy moms never get prediabetes.
Wait, what?
Let me just... Yeah, this is all the people at risk for prediabetes, and way over here, busy moms. No?
Bye-bye.
Hi. Hoping for a crisp breeze to help keep you alert. Oh, he took a sip of water too. That'll probably help. You were probably going to turn down the radio too, so you could focus, right?
Probably okay isn't okay.
Right.
If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
I think the water line is what really drove it home. I blew on him.
Welcome back to Cape Chronicle. I'm Audra Kane. Clint Tracy has spent a lifetime in public service in the Navy as a state representative and for almost 9 years serving as Cape Girardeau County's presiding commissioner. Clint, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, it's great. So here's the thing is I have skirted around you for years. Like I've heard your name a million times. I know members of your family, including your children, and we've never gotten to meet in person, but I know that you have been serving the community, which means serving people like me in your positions.
Yep.
In the Navy, active duty for 6 years.
6 years with the recall in 2007.
And then 23 years?
Yeah, this is my 23rd year. It's hard to believe.
That's a long time. But then you also spent time as a state representative.
Right.
And then you've been presiding commissioner. So for people who don't know what the county commission does or what your duties as the presiding commissioner are, just briefly explain what that means.
So kind of just the quick and dirty is you know, if I'm out and have to explain what the commission does or commissioner, it's kind of like being the mayor of the county.
Right.
There's a three-member commission, 2 districts. The county split 2 districts. Most counties are split north and south, east and west, but ours is unique in that the population center of Cape provides enough population for 1 district commissioner. It's Charlie Herbst, and then Paul Kepper is the other commissioner that represents Jackson and the Out County.
What would you say is I guess maybe the topic that's come to you when you're out in public? What's one of the most prevalent issues that people come to you with as the presiding commissioner?
Well, it depends on the group.
Right.
Some folks are concerned with economic development, but I would say visibly the things, if I had to look back and point at changes that we've made that you would notice as a taxpayer would be, of course, our courthouse. We're building in Jackson the Justice Center, so we're consolidating from 2 to 1. We did that as a lengthy process with a citizen advisory committee to kind of take a look at our current situation, how we were operating. Made a recommendation to consolidate into 1 building, and then we moved forward with the funding. So that's probably one of the biggest things that you can see that the county did. If you live in the Out County, of course, our road paving program, that's something that we consolidated and kind of streamlined as far as making it more transparent and creating a list and making it easy to see where you're at on that list and get your road paved. And then amenity-wise, I think our county parks, we've got a park superintendent that he does an incredible job at the county park. And whether it's the addition of 2 new playgrounds or our Veterans Memorial Wall with the Freedom Rock, there's a lot going on out there that has been developed, and can stay tuned for more, actually.
Well, and that stay tuned for more, what does that consist of?
So right now we're finishing up a project that's a joint project with the Department of Conservation to do some enhancements on the South Park Lake, and so it's going to be better fishing, so that's some folks are concerned about that. But we're putting in a new shelter and making a sidewalk around the lake, and so it'll be more accessible, and just an additional place where you can enjoy the park and outdoors with your family. How
did that particular cooperation with the Department of Conservation, how did that come to be?
There's a grant process, and so again, our park superintendent is always looking for ways to make enhancements and look for grants and ways that we can improve kind of our quality of life, and that was one of the programs that they had to promote fishing, of all things, and in addition the access with the sidewalk, and so it's one that we applied for and we received, and so we're probably 85% done with that project.
Well, and I have driven past there, so I know if people look, they can see Cape County Park South has got some stuff going on. The Veteran Wall is beautiful. Yeah. Noticed, I believe it was maybe Flag Day or one of the holidays that the American flags are always out each time there's something to recognize. Is there anything going on in the county that maybe people don't know is on the books or is about to happen, or something that you have planned as a goal as far as the commission is concerned?
Well, we're constantly evaluating and reevaluating revenues and our responsibilities. I mean, I like to liken the county operations to your operating system on your phone. It kind of runs in the background and just continually is doing things so that when election time comes, the clerk's actually been working hard since the last election ended to make sure the voter rolls are updated. To keep all the Russians out of our system. We've got some tight security, and maintaining those rolls and making sure that we have polling places and judges to sit at those election places, so that as a voter, all you have to do is show up at your place and vote. And for you, that's kind of a once every 2 years or however often the election happens. But realizing that the work that goes into making that day possible is every day since the last election. So whether it's elections or in the recorder's office or the assessors and the collectors, there's just constantly things that are going on behind the scenes that you don't realize, or it doesn't really come into your scope until you need to renew your license and you got to run over and get your taxes paid, or whatever those things are.
Right.
But they're on top of those systems, modernizing them and taking a look at them.
I love that analogy that you used about running in the background, because there are a lot of important things that go on that people don't see what you're doing. Out of all those things that you've been involved in, what would you say was the most rewarding to see come to fruition over the past, we're going on 9 years now?
Probably the courthouse, the Justice Center, just the process. It was easy for 3 commissioners to say, wow, we've got to do something. We're maintaining 2 different courthouses, and the newest one is over 100 years old, in the Jackson Courthouse and the Common Pleas, which is historical. It's a beautiful site, a beautiful building, but not very efficient as far as courts are concerned. And so whether it was Cape and the material condition of the building, or Jackson, the security issues in both, frankly, ever since 1908, the prisoners were walked up the street from the jail. And I like to say that's a John Grisham novel waiting to happen. and that's just a liability that, frankly, we just were not willing to continue to accept. And so when we looked at how do we change that, how do we make it safer for both the prisoners and the deputies and the general public, and how do we, continue to be fiscally responsible and maintaining buildings instead of, try to consolidate and maintain one roof instead of 2. It was easy for 3 commissioners to say, yeah, we should probably consolidate and do that. But that's the easy part, getting the public to realize that, especially in a building that most people don't have to ever go in. Most people don't use the courthouse unless you get called for jury duty. And I won't say that's an unpleasant experience, but it's just one that it seems like it intrudes into your life. Yeah. So the reasons you would have to use the courthouse are usually not good ones. And so most people think, well, it's just a courthouse. What's the big deal? We've got 2. Let's just make it work. Well, for the people that have to work there every day, it's a different story. So bringing the public into that discussion and really shining the spotlight on the situation, I think, and then again making everyone see the same picture that was, like I said, easy for 3 commissioners to see, and then going through the process of the design build and then making that come to fruition was pretty satisfying. And especially in government, that's making a plan and then making it happen, which I found was kind of frustrating maybe at the state level. Is these problems are there every year after year after year, but really making change and getting something done is another story. So at the county level, that's pretty satisfying to actually identify a problem and then work to solve it.
Well, it sounds like you enjoy your job and you take it pretty seriously. Yeah. So I think you're representing Cape County pretty well. Clint, so nice to finally meet you in person. And great to have you on the show. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you.
We've been talking with Presiding Commissioner Clint Tracy. After the break, we'll hear from Codify's Community Director Stacy Dohan Lane. That's next on Cape Chronicle.
Let me tell you about the toughest guy on earth. He has the crazy strength to lift the man that raised him up without even flinching. This guy, this warrior, will always be by his father's side, even if his dad will hardly remember. If this guy isn't the toughest guy on the planet, then I don't know who is. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
At Southeast Missouri State, we've been launching the extraordinary careers of educators for nearly 150 years. But that's the thing about educators. They're always ready to learn more, discover new paths, and push themselves to the next level. With our new online educational leadership programs, you can earn the credentials needed to move up in your career. With flexibility for your schedule, accelerated courses, and an affordable price, together we can transform our learning communities and prepare you to conquer your goals.
This is Cape Chronicle, and I'm Audra Kane. We are joined now by Stacey Dohan Lane, Community Director and Champion of Youth Coding for Codify in downtown Cape Girardeau. Stacey, thanks so much for coming by. Now, I know that there are people that are going to watch this program and they're going to say, what is Codify and what is youth coding?
Well, thanks for having me back again.
You bet.
So Codify is a co-working and private office space. It's a for-profit business on most of the 4th, all of the 5th, and all of the 6th floors in the Marquette Tower in beautiful downtown Cape Girardeau. Codify also has a foundation that's attached a little bit. We have the Marquette Tech District Foundation, and that's a designated 501c3 nonprofit organization, and that's where a lot of our youth coding education initiatives are funded by and supported by. It's all coming from that Marquette Tech District Foundation.
It's really interesting to hear you say that you take up almost 3 floors of the Marquette Tower, because for quite some time it pretty much sat vacant.
Right, and how nice is it to see it not just surviving but really thriving?
Yes.
Yes, and there's so much going on those 3 floors that it can get, where do you start, right? So I always think about Codify as the physical hub where a lot of this innovation and education is happening out of. And that's kind of where the foundation comes into play. The educational arm of the Marquette Tech District Foundation is the Marquette Technology Institute. And from that organization, we are running adult coding education programs as well as youth coding education programs. And the youth coding education programs are the ones that I get to be involved with every day.
Well, and that's the one that I think a lot of people will be interested in knowing about, because it's been hammered into our heads for decades that tech is the way to go. And kids want to be in tech. They want to be involved with computers. They want to be involved with video games. They want to be involved with drones. But there's a deeper level of that code, of writing code that runs all of those things that maybe not everybody who understands computers knows, but kids totally get it. And you guys have a program to help them with that.
We do, and I always ask the kids, who do you think is smarter, you or a computer? And the answer are, we're smarter than the computers, because someone has to write the directions to tell those computers what to do every step of the way. And on an extremely simplistic level, that's what coding is. When we were growing up, we had a good idea of what kind of careers we were going to go into one day, right? They were defined, we saw them, we saw people in them. For the most part, we knew what we were going to be doing. That's not the case anymore. So these critical basic computer science skills are really preparing the kids who are participating in the Youth Coding League in the middle school division at the 5th and 6th grade level, and at the junior high division in the 7th and 8th grade level. Those basic computer science skills are preparing them for the jobs they're going to have one day that don't even exist yet. So, and I always say too, because I'm not a technical person, but even if, not all of these kids go off to ride into the sunset and to be computer programmers one day, the learning to think very systematically, computationally, right, step by step by step, kind of like in a recipe or a sewing pattern, and also that process of thinking very logically, problem solving, learning resiliency, where you don't just say, oh, I don't know what to do now, tell me what my next step is, where they have to dig in and figure it out, that kind of problem-based thinking. All of those things are truly going to contribute to their overall academic success, whether they do go into the computer science field or not someday. So we feel that these are just critically important skills that are going to help today's youths as they progress through school and go out into the workplace, no matter which profession they end up in.
Are you finding it easier with them, with this new generation, of pointing out to them that even the simplest job that has nothing to do with computer coding may require them to use it. And the example I give is just this morning I was posting Cardinals videos on our radio station website and had to go find the embed code for that video. 10 years ago, I didn't know how to do that.
Yeah.
So, you know, are they embracing it?
It's we don't even have to get to that point because they already know how important it is, right? So it's just a given. I mean, really, that kind of spiel is more for their parents and their family and sometimes the educators, right? To kind of convince them of how critically important this is. And I always tell like teachers who run the program in their schools, I think that's one of the core strengths of our Youth Coding League. We're not running everything out of our office space at Codify. We've got 750 kids participating this fall. We couldn't fit them all in the building if we wanted to. So we actually go to the schools, run the program in the schools, employing teachers to act as coaches within those schools, teachers who know the students that they see in the hallways every day. So anyway, we're running it in the schools. I think that's one of the core strengths of it. But yeah, the kids just intrinsically know how important this is. Oh, and this is where I was going with that. A lot of times the teachers can be a little intimidated that, oh, I'm not a computer programmer, I'm not a coder, I don't know this enough to be able to teach it effectively. Right. And I always tell them, you are here for operational support. Keep these kids connected to the internet, help them sign in and make sure they're on task. But when it comes down to the nitty gritty, I don't understand why this code is doing this, the kids are going to help each other. And it's a really beautiful thing to see. It kind of inhabits one of those core values that we have at Codify, which is collaboration over competition. And even though the Youth Coding League is a competitive, fun, engaging program, these kids, they light up like Christmas trees whenever they get to help each other figure out a problem.
That's awesome. If there's an educator out there, how do they find out about the youth coding program?
Yes, they can go check out youthcodingleague.com and you can see the competitive element of the Youth Coding League on full display. We're at the midway point of our season, so the kids are able to compete both individually and see where they rank against all the other players in their division across the entire league, as well as compete as a team and see where their teams rank as well. So there's individual components to it as well as team components to it too. We have these fun new things that we added for this fall called epics. So for the kids who the numeric scores don't really do anything for them, kind of like myself, I'm not really a competitive person. We added these neat epics where the kids can actually earn badges that increase in coolness as they collect more. So we thought that might appeal to the kids who kind of like to collect the badges. So it's a really neat program. The kids love it so much. We're so encouraged by the growth that we're seeing.
I can tell you're pretty passionate
about
it.
We love it.
Okay, codify.com.
Codifyworks.com.
Codifyworks.com.
And then for Youth Coding League specific things, youthcodingleague.com.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Stacey.
Thanks for
great to have you here. We've been talking with Stacey Dohan Lane, Community Director. And thank you for joining us today for Cape Chronicle. Our producer is Nicolette Brennan. Our executive producer is Dr. Jim Dufek. And the program is a collaboration among the Department of Mass Media at Southeast Missouri State University and the City of Cape Girardeau. I'm your host, Audrey Kane.